Ladies and gentlemen, go to the New York Times right now. I don't say this with any type of, this is just a morose, really, frightening and sad commentary on what's taking place in our country. God bless the people of New York, New Jersey, and Michigan. I've only known the most amazing people in New York, New Jersey, and Michigan. If you look at what's taking place, so we'll get to Pelosi slams White House for blocking task force members from testifying. They might be afraid of the truth. Well, let's look at the truth. Let's look at the truth. The truth is that President Trump is not a governor of New York. He's not a governor of New Jersey. He's not a governor of Illinois. He's not a governor of California, Pennsylvania, Michigan. These are all Democratic Party governors. But if you look at New York, New Jersey, and Michigan, New York has, of the lives lost in the United States of America, 68,822 lives lost, according to the New York Times, May 4th, 2020. Now, you have New York, 24,788 lives have been lost. 24,788 lives. You have New Jersey, 7,910 lives lost. Okay. And Michigan, 4,135 lives lost. If you add up New York, New Jersey, and Michigan, you get a little over half of all the people who've perished because of this crisis in the entire country. Murphy actually in New Jersey was complimentary of the president. Cuomo, there's always a feud, and he was on March 1st. He stated the risk remains low in New York, and there's no reason for undue anxiety. On March 1st, New York itself, he failed to just look into the future like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Andrew Cuomo. From March 1st, New York has had more people who've lost their lives than actual countries. Most countries in the world, actually. That too is a fact. New York alone. But New York, New Jersey, and Michigan, go look at the New York Times. They have a daily update. Latest map and case count, April 4th, 2020. Now, you can also look at, we have a confirmed total cases, 1.1 million. New York has 324,357. New Jersey has 128,269. So that's around 450,000. And Michigan has 43,928. So you're looking over 40% of all the cases in the United States of America. Three states. Now, I don't know what Pelosi and Democrats want to do. I've had a person tell me Trump is directly responsible because of his negligence for people who are no longer here. Well, you can say that about President Obama and Flint, or President Obama and failed NATO intervention in Libya. Biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes since Bush. His foreign policy predicated on intelligence failures. So, it's interesting how they don't judge President Obama or Bush based on the standards they judge Trump. And also, Don Lemon at CNN, when he says, well, what is it about President Obama that gets under your skin? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that we've had a peaceful transition of power since Washington. And President Obama's administration, his Department of Justice, his FBI, his intelligence agencies, from Clapper, Brennan, Comey, and then you have Strzok, McCabe, opened up investigations into President Trump and everyone around him prior to him becoming president. Then in a meeting, utilized the dossier as kind of an intimidation tool saying, well, James Comey, we're using this dossier to investigate you, but don't worry, it hasn't been verified. President Obama's administration utilized a dossier that was purchased by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. Well, maybe that's the issue, Don Lemon. Maybe that's the issue. If the tables were reversed and Trump and an administration and his FBI allowed a dossier purchased by Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich or Paul Ryan, you better believe they'd say, oh my God, Trump's administration is utilizing a bunch of nonsense compiled on note paper they call a dossier. And it's saying that Madam Secretary enjoyed, certain types of showers and hotel rooms in Russia. I mean, can you get more vile? But they used it against Trump. So that's one reason, in addition to President Obama's administration unmasking names and doing a whole bunch of things. But of course, what happens in President Obama's administration, according to Mr. Lemon and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times and Democrats and everywhere, that has nothing to do with President Obama. He knew of nothing. Meanwhile, there's no evidence that Trump told anyone to withhold military assistance from the Ukraine because he's afraid of Biden. He wants to tank Biden, which is absurd because Biden's going to give the nomination to Hillary Clinton. I will have been the only person out of 33 million YouTube channels to tell you this. And I wrote about this in the Huffington Post. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. Please share that article if you're on Twitter. Share it if you're on Twitter and if you're on Facebook. Share the article. It is below in the pinned comment and the description. Share it everywhere because it is going to tell you exactly what's going to take place. But I don't understand something. If the governors, so President Trump is blocking testimony from task force testimony, coronavirus task force testimony from testifying. Why should he allow this to become yet another spectacle? Democrats don't have any value system, and their outrage is completely fabricated at all times. Whether it was Russia, well, they used a dossier, literally compiled with Russian sources, to investigate Trump, not even questioning whether it was disinformation from Putin. But then they said, well, he worked with Putin. And they found nothing because they made it up. They absolutely made it up because the impeachment was not. They didn't impeach Trump on any crime. Nothing. No criminal statute. It was subjective abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. These are all. You could have said the same thing with President Obama, Bush for sure, and every other president. But you look at President Obama's rating. We rate this as true, USA Today. We rate this claim as true that he didn't replace the N95 masks. True because it's supported by research. There is no indication that the Obama administration took significant steps to replenish the supply of N95 masks in the strategic national stockpile after it was depleted from repeated crisis. Calls for action came from experts at the time concerned for the country's calls for action came from experts at the time concerned for the country's ability to respond to future serious pandemics. Such recommendations were, for whatever reason, not heeded. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why Democrats don't care, because they only care about political utility. At this point right now, Democrats should never be on the Trump administration unless there's a criminal act that he's accused of. He should never be investigated by Democrats ever again. On anything. There should never be a panel. There should never be testimony on anything. Unless there's like a break-in linked to like a Watergate break-in linked to Trump. Everything they've done is to pave the way for Clinton because Clinton can't brush her teeth in the morning. Either of them, Bill or Hillary, without some kind of criminal investigation or controversy or whatever. So they must be afraid of the truth. Well, maybe Biden's afraid of the truth. Why doesn't he give all the records that he needs to give to Tara Reid? Oh, he says they're the National Archives. The National Archives says they're in the Senate. The Senate says, well, you know what? We can't disclose any information. The University of Delaware says, gosh, it's up to Biden. All of these. So, and then you have all of these people saying, well, her story doesn't add up. What doesn't add up about a 1993 call-in? And a criminal complaint. A 1993 call-in in Larry King. stating that her mother stated, my daughter experienced something horrible from a senator. Out of respect, she didn't go to the press. They were talking about nylons the other day on Twitter. How could it have happened? Check out a Bizarro World Goodman. I might take a break this evening and just come back tomorrow with Bizarro World Goodman. Oddly enough, takes a lot out of me, yelling and screaming and being the Trump derangement syndrome person in your life. But subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman below. And subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a great segment on how Bush wanted unity. Unity! All of these people who are like shameless, they have the audacity to say, yeah, you know what, we want unity now. Everything is completely fabricated. Everything is completely part of this narrative that Trump is absolutely horrible. Everything he does is horrible. There's nothing. There's an article about Cher, and she was like, I looked into Biden's eyes, and Biden was such a nice person, and he has such a nice family, and he's an honest individual. I just don't think Trump has a compassionate bone in his body. Really? Signing the First Step Act is not compassionate? Ending America's longest-running military conflict in Afghanistan to eventually bring home Americans is not compassionate? We had a record low black and Latino unemployment before all of this, record low national unemployment, and you wonder why 5 million Democrats voted during the pandemic, but they don't want the economy to reopen. They don't. Look, this election is going to be about people who don't speak to their friends because they're maniacal and they're petulant and they're malicious and they crave political power and influence because they've convinced themselves that Trump is the end of the world and end of the universe. I'm telling you, do not speak to people about politics this election. They have nothing on Trump. They never impeached him on any crime. He's not at fault. The governors are at fault. Andrew Cuomo, Whitmer, and Murphy, and every 7 of the top 10 states. If you look, let's look here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Connecticut is Democrat. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the top 10, according to the New York Times, states with the most cases and most lives lost have Democratic governors. The Democrats were completely blindsided by this. Then they focused on, Trump said about hydrochloroquine. The New York Times itself published an article about a study done that proved that hydrochloroquine could be of use. The issue. Then you have Karen Whitsett, a Michigan representative in Michigan government, who stated that it saved her life. He never said it was a cure. He said it could be a treatment for people who, as a last resort, or if other treatments are not working. He never used the word cure. Cure. This will cure you completely. He never stated that phrase. But Democrats say, oh my God, he wants you to put UV light up your rear end. And I did a segment on a Bizarro World Goodman. And he wants you to inject disinfectants. He never told anyone to do that. It was a question that he asked. But they distort and manipulate everything because, Trump is not, the person that you see is not the person that they see. They don't live in the same reality you do. That's why when Clinton becomes nominee, they will be just fine with it. So when people say, well, Clinton's not running, she's definitely going to be nominee, and then she'll run against Trump again and then lose again. She could possibly win. Don't take Clinton lightly. The only way to stop a Clinton presidency is to vote for President Trump. But don't ever get into an argument or anything, because then you have facts on your side, and then the other person will hear a fact and their minds will implode with anger that you've given them a fact that they can't debunk or they can't, well, Trump said this, and Trump said this, and Trump said that, and here, this is really interesting. There's one. What did Cher say today? This is the typical liberal. The typical liberal response. The typical liberal response to. It was a great quote. Biden has a soul, and Trump is just really mean. I dislike Trump because I don't think he has a good, compassionate bone in his body. No, not a good bone. Nothing. A person who is losing her life literally stated right before the last election that he was a very good person. He's been in public life forever. 63 million people voted for him, not because he has no soul or no compassion. He signed the First Step Act, which is prison reform legislation. So tell me again how he's a racist who doesn't have a compassionate bone. The left calls everyone mean and horrible and racist if they don't agree with them. That's it. That's their go-to. That's why they've diluted the meaning of words. That may sound dramatic, but I never thought there was a chance I would fear for my life in my own country and see something. Well, did you drink Flint water like President Obama did? Or were you there at Standing Rock when President Obama was there? Or through all the tragedies that took place, President Obama's administration? Oh, yeah, sure. And then she goes like this. Sure, shoot Clorox into your arm, or put UV light into your stomach, or take hydrochloroquine when everyone knows it can cause heart damage, stroke, and whatever. Well, then why does hydrochloroquine even exist? It's a malaria drug. It's been the New York Times even stated that it's relatively safe for what it's used for. So and here then you get, so he never stated shoot Clorox into your arms, but then you have the New York Times. So let's see. Where's that? Of course, they cover it up. Oh, my goodness. Malaria drug helps virus patients in small study. They don't say hydrochloroquine. Isn't that interesting? The duplicitous New York Times. They say malaria drug. See, the New York Times, they're very, very good at. And the study, which has not yet undergone peer review, neither did the other study that said there was no issue at all. There's no benefit related to chloroquine, but it put malaria drug helps virus patients in small study. So they're talking about chloroquine. So it's already being used according to that article, and I took screenshots of that and everything. It's already being used in that article for patients in France and China. But again, you can't expect the petulant, malicious people who don't like Trump to even give him an inch. So that's why he blocked task force testimony. That's why he blocked the testimony. Because he didn't do anything illegal, and he didn't even do anything immoral. He was trying his best. President Obama tried his best. With Libya, oopsie, gosh, it completely obliterates a country, and liberals are like, no problem. Here you have the three Democratic-run states run by Democratic governors is now over half, according to the New York Times, of all the lives lost in 3 states. And then you have articles like, it's sweeping the nation. Trump didn't work with Russia. But Democrats did utilize a dossier to set him up and frame him and purchase it. That had help with Russian that had input from Russian intelligence officials. Yeah, even Vanity Fair was bragging about that. So that nonsense where they scream at the top of their lungs and screech, they don't care about foreign interference if it helps them. You think that if the RNC was hacked by Russia, they'd care? No way. Believe. with oh my God, something happened, clothes on, no, nothing what Biden did, which, by the way, they say Trump did all the time. Nobody's ever accused him of that because of the hot mic, which was not a deposition, but Biden actually did that, and they're like, oh, we don't believe it. They are the most, so Russia, they believe when it suits them. Women, they believe them only when it suits them. They're the biggest hypocrites. Now with this crisis, they don't even look at who presides over the most carnage, and it's Democratic governors. And when Trump said he has absolute authority just to go ahead and mess with the media, they say, no, you don't. It's the governors who can open up. It's the governors who run their states. Okay, then why do they not get the blame for all the carnage that took place, especially when Andrew Cuomo stated on March 1st, there's no reason for undue anxiety, no reason for risk. I don't get it. It's pretty unbelievable, but this election is going to be interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee. Share that Huffington Post article everywhere and subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Thank you, everybody.